3, 2, 1.
What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, October 22nd, 2018. Dan, you can't compare Apple and Bitcoin. I've seen comments because I've talked about this before, but I think it's a very powerful comparison to use. And I do disagree with the people that say you can't compare the two. Facebook is built in the digital world, as is Bitcoin. And they both have their own use cases. Bitcoin, in my opinion, more powerful, more useful. We're going to talk about that. First, before we talk about that, there's a really good article we're going to look at in terms of that scarcity, utility. We're going to look at the charts. We're going to talk about the trajectory of the two, and we're going to compare them because it might give us a little hint of the powerful moves that may lie ahead for Bitcoin in the future. We're talking 20 years in the future. Let's jump into the charts and look at it. So on the screen, we have Apple, and we've kind of looked at this before, but I want to look at it in a different light, from a different perspective, because I think it's really important, especially being what we're going to be talking about, scarcity, the true value of Bitcoin. So here's Apple, circa 1980, and you can see it, trading up around 63 cents, comes down, trades back up, looks really familiar, crazy volatile, right? Looks very familiar in terms of even Bitcoin. So let's tell this story. 1983, all-time highs, over $1, Apple down 80%. 80% down from 83 to 1985. But then Apple back up, breaking $2, right? Back down a little bit, I say, but it's a lot. Back up, new all-time high, $2.55 or so. And then here we go, bear markets, down 80%, 10 years later, 10 years into the existence, more than 10 years into the existence of Apple. And first off, this is an argument many people have. Bitcoin is 10 years in, how could it be this volatile still? How could it not have just solid gains or solid consolidation at the very least? But how come it be down 80% in a bear market? Well, look at Apple. And we're talking, this was back in 1997, 44 cents. Now, I want to point out, since that time, Apple has made its mark on the world, right? It really has. And you can even see from that low to where Apple is now, you can see gains of around 52,000% over a 21-year period. So let's pivot that over to Bitcoin. Bitcoin looking very similar in terms of the chart, in terms of the volatility, in terms of the moves up and the moves down. We have new all-time highs, right? New all-time highs, and then crazy consolidation. New all-time highs most recently. Crazy consolidation. And so just as Apple saw its crazy 80% consolidation 10 years after its birth, we have something similar happening in Bitcoin. Almost 80% on the downside, consolidation. And some are saying Bitcoin is weak. How can it be this volatile? This isn't usable. And so let's talk about the growth of Bitcoin. So on the screen, I actually, just for fun, because I did a halving video yesterday, we have the first halving here, 2012, 2016, the next halving in 2020. This is the third halving, and then so on every 4 years, right? Every 4 years until 2141. That's really weird to say. 2141. So that will continue, right? So we talked about yesterday's video, the move in price in terms of Bitcoin and halving, right? Because of the scarcity of Bitcoin. Only 21 million Bitcoin in existence. Now let's pivot over and talk about why that's important in terms of comparing Apple and Bitcoin. Let's do that right now. This is an awesome article This isn't like recently published. This was January 2018, but it's perfect in terms of what we're talking about. As Bitcoin's popularity surges and its price rises and falls, more and more people are asking the same question. How does Bitcoin, something that's essentially invisible and intangible, have value? That's the question. How does it have value? How can we get from $6,000, to $1 million, which is this purple line that you see, this pink line on the screen? That's $1 million. Looks very achievable in terms of this long-term trend that we have for Bitcoin. Looks very achievable if you look at the long-term trend in Apple, and it's 50,000% plus gains, right? And just for context, in case you're wondering, you may be, what does 50,000% gains look like for Bitcoin? We can just do it real quick from where it is right now anyway. 50,000% gains would be, I'm way off here, hold on a second. 50,000% gains for Bitcoin. Right around there. $3 million Bitcoin. $3 million Bitcoin. So assuming, let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm not predicting this, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but Apple, 10 years in, for the next 20 years, had 50,000% gains. This new technology, right? What if Bitcoin did that? And in 20 years, we see 50,000% gains for Bitcoin, especially in terms of its scarcity. Well, we'd have a $3 million Bitcoin. I mean, the reality of a $1 million Bitcoin, I think most have grasped, most have accepted the reality of that. And in terms of what you see on the screen, is a $3 million Bitcoin really that out of the equation? If this thing that has a $21 million, keep saying that, 21 million Bitcoin circulating supply, max circulating supply, the scarcity involved in that can drive the price up tremendously. So moving on, in economics, something has value if it checks the following two boxes: scarcity and utility. Scarcity just means that something has finite supply. In the case of Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency has a set cap of 21 million Bitcoins. There it is. That's it. Many analysts note that this set cap makes Bitcoin more desirable than other assets, even gold. That's because, unlike with gold, there's no need to worry about a digital gold rush. What's crazy is, and it's somewhere in here, I didn't highlight it, but it basically talks about how, here we go, there are potentially millions of times more gold underground than actually has been extracted. There's a ton of gold still out there, right? So while we call Bitcoin digital gold, there is a really big difference in that the scarcity aspect is way, way different. Many believe that cryptocurrency's utility lies in its potential to be a more efficient commodity than we already have. Proponents of Bitcoin like it for a number of reasons. I highlighted one of those reasons. Bitcoin's decentralized, meaning no government, bank, or single person has control over it. It can't be toppled by corruption at the top. With paper money, the Federal Reserve says it costs about 16 cents to create a $100 bill. So the rest of that $100, the remaining $99.84, comes from the trust people place in it. Trusting, I mean, when you hold that $100 bill in your hand, you're essentially holding debt. So the rest of that $100, $99.84, comes from the trust that people place in it. I don't know how we can trust it anymore. It can be hard to see the digital currency as having value because you can't hold it in your hand like you can hold a dollar bill or gold. And here's the part I like, and I want to highlight this even more than what I've highlighted on the screen. As a solution, Lee said to think of Bitcoin as a digital business. And that's what I want to say to you. Think of Bitcoin as a digital business. If you ask a baby boomer, can you justify the value of anything that's a digital business? They probably don't accept that Facebook, Google, Netflix, Amazon, Apple, these are the largest companies in the S&P 500, and they're primarily digital businesses built among almost purely on digital trust. Sorry. So here we go. Apple, 50,000 plus % gains. Crazy gains in its 30 plus years. Crazy gains. And we're talking Bitcoin, digital business. Anyone who thinks digital gold isn't a store of value is overlooking the fact that most businesses today are built around digital trust, including the financial system. We talk about Bitcoin a lot, and it's nice to kind of like pull it back to reality, because we talk about Bitcoin a lot as like this brand new technology, this digital gold, like, whoa, that's so digital, it's so futuristic. And like there are aspects of it, right? Like there are really cool things about what makes Bitcoin such an innovative thing, such an innovative technology. But if we really pull it back in, if we hone it all back in, it's a digital business, which really is nothing new, right? So the value in that is I don't know how people can debate that. I don't know how people can debate the value of this new digital currency, because look at what these digital businesses are doing in terms of their gains. Look at their gains. Look at Google, right? I don't even have Google up on the chart right now. But just look at Apple, and we're talking Apple doesn't have what Bitcoin has. Apple is a business. Apple is a centralized business, right? You know, here's Apple right here, and there's definitely no scarcity. I mean, they're cranking out these phones like crazy, multiple times a year, now in the thousands of dollars, over $1,000 for one of these, right? Bitcoin has scarcity, 21 million, that's it. And we're talking not just a business that makes something, we're talking about the potential to be a global currency. The demand of that is incredible. If you want to talk about price, if you want to talk about the value of that, the need of that. And so I know I talked about Bitcoin and Apple before and compared the two. I really just, when I did it before, I talked mainly just about price and how we can follow the same trajectory, which is fine. We can talk about that. But in terms of the scarcity, in terms of this digital business aspect of things, Bitcoin is the most powerful. So if you can invest in something, if I could invest in either Apple, which you see on the screen, up 50,000%, or Bitcoin, still in its infancy here. 10 years in is nothing. And you saw that with Apple. 10 years in, trading at 43 cents. Think long term, think future. Where are we going to be here? 2028 is right here. Here's 2028, that's 10 years from now. Here's 2028, that's 20 years from now. Where are we going to be? And I'll leave with this, which is to say, don't think so short term. Where are we going to be in this little area, the next year? Because that's not where the power play is. This is the future of Bitcoin. And it really is not much different than the digital businesses that we see today that are literally just ruling the world. Apple, Google, taking over. Bitcoin next to take over in a more powerful way, on a more powerful level. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Let me know. I'm curious of your thoughts. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're not a subscriber, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. I will see you all in the next video. Have an awesome day, and God bless.